So I wanted to talk a little bit more about these tables and how they're used to calculate probabilities. And I also want you to see how they linked in with the previous lessons where we were working out the simple probabilities. Now, if we see one of the questions, the probability of rolling a 3 and getting a tails. Now we can see that really easily from the table. There is one way here of rolling a 3 and getting the tails. The only other option is a 3 and a heads. So we know that it is 1 out of the 12 possible outcomes. But there is another way that we can think about this as well and link it into what we did in our previous lessons. You can also think about the flipping of a coin and what is the probability of getting the tails? Well, that is 1 out of 2 because there is one way of getting a tails out of 2 options, heads or tails. Also, if we look at our table, these are all the tail options, and there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 ways out of the 12 options of getting a tails, which also equals a half. So we can see there are different ways of getting the same number. If we just close it off on our table, out of the 12 to get a 3, and that equals 1/6. Now if we also think about it in terms of our dice, when we're rolling a dice, how many ways can we get a 3 on the dice? Well, the probability of getting a 3 on the dice is 1 out of 6. So you can see they're the same again. Now because this is an and question, the probability of getting a 3 and getting a tails, if we were to work out the probability of getting the tails, so we've worked that out as being 1/2, 6 out of 12, and then the probability of getting 3, so there's 2 ways out of the 12, okay, and with it being an and, we times them together. So 1 times 2 is 2, and 2 times 12 is 24. We can obviously simplify that, so that becomes 1/12. So you can see how, by creating the table and just reading off the value, it actually works out the same way by using the other methods that we did in the previous lessons, by working out the probability of scoring a tail, by working out the probability of scoring a 3 on the dice, then timesing them together, we get the same answer. Now obviously that was much quicker, just looking at the table and calculating the probability, but it's made up of this combination here. The combination of getting a tails and the combination of getting a 3 from the dice. So you can see how the two relate to each other. So now let's look at an OR question. So say if we want to know the probability of getting a 1 and either a head or a tail. So we want to know the probability of getting a 1 and a head or a tail. So the probability of getting a 1 and a head is 1 out of 12. And the probability of getting a 1 and a tail, that's also 1 out of 12. Because this is an OR question, we add them together. So you've got 1/12 add 1/12 equals 2/12. And that would simplify down to 1/6. But we can work it out the other way as well, like we just did in the previous question, to prove that that is actually true and why it works in such a way. So we can work out the probability of getting a 1 on our dice is 1 out of 6, and the probability of getting a head from flipping a coin is 1 out of 2. Because you're wanting a head and a 1, you times them together. So that equals 1/12. And that's what we worked it out to be here. And then likewise, the probability of getting a 1, well, we've already worked that out as 1/6, because there's one way of getting a 1 on a 6-sided dice. And the probability of getting a tails, you're flipping a coin, so the probability of getting a tails is 1 out of 2. Again, because it's a and question, a 1 and a tail, times them together, and that equals 1/12. So you can see where this came from. Then you do the same thing again. Because it's the probability of getting a 1 and a head or a 1 and a tails, you then add them together, which equals 2/12 or 1/6. So you can see by working out the individual probabilities how that relates to the probabilities that we can calculate in our table and why it actually works.